ad nauseum about like the stress that a lot of officers feel. He told this amazing story about he got called to a scene and the mother's in the yard saying, I think my son is thinking of committing suicide. They look in the doorway. The guy takes his own life with a shotgun, shoots himself in the head. Now he has to go back. Now he's standing there talking to the mother when it happens. She's saying this. Now this happened. So he has this thing with the mother. He still has to go inside and make sure everything's okay. Like, is that exactly what happened? Who knows if somebody's still in there with a weapon? You just don't know. He can't get the door open because the body's right there. He finally is able to get it open, maneuver, and part of the matter from the guy's head falls down the back of his shirt.
Disgusting. Yeah.
So now he still has to deal with the other. He has to fill out reports. It's 4 hours before he even gets to think about. And the whole time he has like, you know, I just... You guys are like the drain of society. You guys have to be this catch-all in this. You have so many responsibilities.
It's tough. It really is. You know, and there's a story that story that you just told me reminded me of, and again, it's a nexus to about how we treat humans.
What's a nexus mean?
Nexus is like a connection to. So when one thing connects to another thing.
Okay.
So because the story that you told me reminded me of this story where I negotiated this guy. So I get a call. I was a sergeant actually at the time. So I ended up negotiating because I was part of this crisis intervention team.
Okay.
So I go from Southeast Area Command all the way to downtown. It was Valentine's Day, February 14th. A lot of people end up attempting or committing, we'll say 405. Our term for that, unlivening themselves, is 405.
Okay.
They 405 on these holidays or at cemeteries sometimes. But this guy's on Fremont Street, about 14th and Fremont, walking up and down. And he's got a gun in his hand. And so they pull me into the scene. They put me in a car, and I'm like, the guy was like maybe about 12 or 13 feet that way when we first drove by. I'm like, dang on, bro, you're going to drive me this close?
So close,
He was so close. But they end up pulling behind this because it was really kind of a haphazard thing because the patrol officers pulled up on him. No one called. I think the patrol officer pulls up, so the perimeter was set up kind of weird. So we pull up, and I get to a safe distance behind, and so I start on the PA talking to the guy.
You're the negotiator.
So I'm talking to the guy.
Responsible.
I'm the responsible, right?
Okay.
And so I'm saying to him, and then I look at the guy. He looks kind of Latino. So then I start saying, I said maybe I say it in Spanish. So then in Spanish I start saying to him, listen, giving him the whole thing, right? And he keeps starting to raise the fire, and I keep going like this because all these got officers with their rifles on him and I'm like, this guy's gonna get, and I can see him talking to him. And then one time he lifts, they light him up. So we all just run across the street. And these weird things happen when you're in a very critical situation like that. I remember one of the first things I noticed was that his pinky was shot off. And when I first got up to him. So we get the scene calmed down. And then I see also in his boot, he had a Derringer, a little small 22 Derringer. The gun that he had was not real. It was a replica firearm, if I recall. It was a pellet, something like that. This is what's called suicide by cop. I don't know if you're familiar with that term.
I've heard, now I totally understand it. They trick you into shooting them.
Right, because they don't want to do it themselves.
What?
Yes, some people, because for religious reasons, they feel like if they kill themselves, that's the last act that they committed.
Right.
Or some people just don't have, I guess, I don't want to say courage, because
it's ballsy to unalive yourself.
Yes, right? It is. So 405 is a serious thing. So those are some replica firearms. It was legit. I shot a guy with one of those, by the way.
Yeah, that's a 6 hour, right? I have a 6 hour.
Oh yeah.
I kind of prefer a Glock.
Yeah, it's a personal preference. I have a few different guns. My favorite gun is my AR pistol, though. But I mean, I'm not a big gun person, but I strongly believe in protecting mine.
Yeah,
my peeps.
Oh, for sure. That's why I like living in a state where you can have a weapon too. Yes. Is nice. So in that instance, say you're talking to somebody. It's a hostage negotiation situation, right?
Yes, but let me just tell you one other part of that story that I meant to tell you. Forgive me.
Yeah, no one.
So what happened was we had to go to coroner inquest for that, and we all go and we
had to go to what?
It's called a coroner's inquest where everyone gives testimony.
Okay. About is that the same day?
No, it's sometime after because homicide has to collect their information and everything. And mind you, this is some weeks later. So this lady, after all the officers and everyone testify, this lady walks in. No one knows who she is. And she's in like this kind of like plain Jane kind of outfit. And she walks up to the front, and it's almost like a movie scene because it's all quiet because I didn't know who she was. And she gets up, they swear in or whatever, and she says, I just want you to know that while you guys were on the police side, this person was my brother. I'm not here to try to defend his behavior. I just came so officially you know that someone loved him. And then she got up and she left.
Wow.
And so to me, it's like, you never know what someone's going through in life. When you go, with the whole road rage thing or whatever, like maybe that person, let me cut them a little bit of slack, Let me cut them a little bit. And I'm raising my hand. I'm very, very guilty.
Oh, for sure. All of us are. I don't think, it doesn't sound like you're trying to exclude yourself. It's just like, yeah, it's funny. You get so active and so animated. It's hard to sometimes have that control,
Yeah.
And self-control is such a huge thing. But God, that's a powerful moment. I just wanted you to know that somebody loved this person.
Yes, it was deep, man.
Yeah, because otherwise you just see this person. A lot of times you don't even get a story. You don't even know their story. You just pull up somebody's deceased, somebody's killed someone, somebody's tried to take their own life. What's that moment when you're negotiating, right? And do you have a weapon on the person, or you don't have a weapon on them? You're kind of...
So negotiation happens in a lot of different ways. That's atypical way, because it's from a negotiation team, they set up a command center, the whole 9 yards. You're very far back. I mean, sometimes you don't get on the phone for maybe an hour. You could be 2 hours later. That situation was a very critical situation where they needed someone who had training on the scene. What's kind of fun that I've been able to deal with those kinds, and also the kind where you're in the tactical operations center. So, another one of those kind of dynamic situations was a guy who was inside, had a gun. His neighbor called, and I was negotiating. And it's called a face-to-face, but we weren't really face-to-face because we don't do face-to-face. It's incredibly dangerous. But I was actually in patrol at the time, and I was the first to arrive, and I ended up getting a rapport with this guy, and I talked to him, and I developed, I want to say liking the guy, and understanding what he was going through. He's going through, and it's usually like three things, it's usually a health issue, loneliness, a family loss, and a financial issue or a medical issue. It's any one of various things. And he was going through like maybe all of those things. And I remember talking to him, and I'm like, and he says, you know what? We got to a point where he said, I'm going to come out, but I want to come out and I want to talk to you. Will you walk me to the ambulance? Because I told him he was going to go to the ambulance and get transported. And I did that. And I stayed with him at the ambulance. The ambulance people come out to me and they say, hey, officer, you might want to come see this. I go inside, and inside of his drawer, stacks of kitty porn. Stacks of it.
Dang.
Now, mind you, I would talk this guy out of 405ing.
Right. You talking him from out of unaliving himself, and then now you're like, look what I've done.
It's really...
Is that the thing? It's like, I kept this person alive?
It's like you have this really kind of dual, like this it's really... like
right, you're like, if I had my choice, if I was able to walk up on somebody and it were the Wild West, I would probably...
It's a very difficult situation to be in. And when you talk to a person for extended periods of time, it's called Stockholm. And have you ever heard of Stockholm Syndrome?
Stockholm Syndrome. Yeah, let's bring it up. Let me read the definition of it, because I always hear it, and I even say it. And I thought originally it was people from Norway that got lost or whatever, I think. But let me think.
It was a banker.
Stockholm Syndrome is, what'd you say?
It's a bank robbery thing.
Oh, it's a bank robbery thing. Stockholm Syndrome is a psychological response where a hostage or victim develops positive feelings or emotional attachment to their captor or abuser, often as a coping mechanism during prolonged captivity or abusive situations. So it's kind of like marriage or whatever, but it's like very severe. And that's just a joke. But yeah, so psychological. So that's interesting. Speaking of like that kind of thing, you hear a lot about child trafficking. You hear a lot about trafficking. That is a buzzword right now for sure. Did you see a ton of that kind of stuff, or is some of that, because I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I know that there's a lot of things like that, but is there a lot... Is some of that just heightened? Because we hear about it every single day now. Did you see a lot of that sort of thing, or what did you see?
So, okay, define child from your definition of child?
That's a great question. So I guess you would think of Right. Did you see a lot of pedophilia, or did you see like more like people just trafficking, like prostitution type of that being run by pimps? Like, what did you see? Kind of like what kind of?
Those things were kind of separate, right? The pedophilia, you'd see like familial stuff like that, or you would see like that guy that had the pictures inside the room. It wasn't a person running, females. One time I was actually with the Cops TV show, and for this, in this episode they couldn't air because we drove into the desert because a vagrant had found a campsite, and there was a person who was living there, and this guy, and I'm going to assume it was a guy because we never caught him, but all of these pornographic magazines. And this is scary, man. He cut little kids' faces out of other regular magazines and pasted the little kids' faces on all these explicit magazines. So this is the type of person you think would be like a serial, like kidnapper, rape, like whatever.
Yeah.
And the cops didn't end up airing it, and I'm sure why, because it was incredibly graphic and creatively weird and disgusting at the same time. And we never ever caught the guy. Never caught him.
What was the campsite like?
It was just a disgusting campsite in the desert area, because Vegas has a lot of desert areas. So especially if you go like to the northwest area,
for sure,
and vagrants kind of hang out there, kind of a little near Nellis Air Force Base.
Like jugs of pee, stuff like that, like just like stuff like food stuff sitting around. It's like somebody just
exactly like that. Old cans, beer bottles, soda bottles. There was like a sleeping bag and stuff like that.
That's so bizarre.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like as far as like a perverted type of thing you see. And it's kind of crazy. Like, it's crazy what happens mentally to people that becomes something for them, like what sickness happens inside of them, And a lot of that you hear too is cyclical, I think, right?
Yeah, it is. And that's one of the things that so that the one that was molested ends up molesting.
Yeah, is that true? Let's look up what percentage of people that get molested end up becoming molesters. And I don't know if that's the right terminology, but you always hear that. So let me see if I can get a little bit of information with that right now. Trevin, if you have something. I just wonder if that's fact or fiction.
I think it would probably be significant.
There is widespread belief in a cycle of child sexual abuse, but little empirical evidence for this belief. The aims were to identify perpetrators of such abuse who had been victims of pedophilia and or incest in order to ascertain whether subjects who had been victims become perpetrators. The results among 747 males, the risk of becoming a perpetrator was positively correlated with reported sexual abuse victim experiences. The overall rate of having been a victim was 35% for perpetrators and 11% for non-perpetrators. Of the 96 females, 43% had been victims, but only one was a perpetrator. A high percentage of male subjects abused in childhood by a female relative became perpetrators. That's interesting. Having been a victim was a strong predictor of becoming a perpetrator, as was an index of parental loss in childhood. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
The data supports the notion of a victim-to-victim cycle in a minority of male perpetrators, but not among the female victims studied. That's interesting that some of them also, having become a victim of strong, an index of parental loss, that sometimes you do that if you lost a parent.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't even know why that would happen.
Huh. Just kind of interesting because you always hear that, that it happens a lot in male, and then you see that it happens a lot in males, but not as much in females. What in Vegas? Yeah, you run across, everybody's there to have the craziest time.
Yes,
right. Everybody's there to have bonkers times, and I'm sure. And there's tons of like prostitution, sex work, girls who are just partying for money. I mean, there's everything there.
The prostitution in Vegas is just off the meter.
Is it?
A lot of people think that it's legal in Vegas. It's not legal in Vegas. It's legal a little bit north in Nye County. You can go to there's a chicken ranch and there's other places that people can go. But in Vegas, it's illegal. It's a misdemeanor, but it's still illegal. But inside the clubs, inside the casinos, I mean, there's tons of girls who are working. And most of them, not most of them, a lot of them work for pimps.
Oh, they do?
A lot of them do.
What's that kind of connection? Would you see that sometimes? Like, does the pimp come and drop them off? Does the pimp put them, does he like Uber pool them or whatever? Like, how do they get the women down to the strip or whatever? Is the pimp down there?
So there's a thing, well, pimps a lot of times, from a pimp perspective, they have a stable of women. and they'll go from place to place to place. Like they'll go to Miami and bring their girls to Miami to work. They'll bring their girls to, New York or Vegas or whatever. And and these girls are called, I don't like the terminology, but they call carpet holes or holes that actually work inside of casinos. And they'll walk inside the